Grace King joining us now. Grace, you cover MARTA, you cover public transit very closely. What's the latest? Where do things stand?
Well, I feel like it's important to mention that the event tomorrow was not just a media tour. That was how it was going to start off, but then those new trains were supposed to enter service, so they would be running ahead of the World Cup. Right now, that has been indefinitely postponed, so we have no idea when that's coming. You know, we talked to MARTA last week about the Fairgate situation. They're rolling out this new Better Breeze program that's supposed to make it a lot more modern, so you can tap to pay, tap in, tap out. International visitors, of course, used to that in a lot of other cities and a lot of other countries. 19 of their 38 stations have those, so just half have fare gates at all. So a lot of people aren't paying fare because they're not able to pay fare. And now we've learned that some of those fare gates are also shattering because they're just pretty thin glass. So MARTA says their original design, the ones that they have installed at those 19 stations, they're about 2 1/4-inch pieces of glass stuck together. You can see, if we have some video here, you can actually see that's one of the fare gates shattered over at Eastlake, or not Eastlake, Indian Creek
And
Station.
these fare gates, they're fare evasion gates, right? I mean, the stated purpose was to make it harder to skip the turnstile, harder to get onto the train without paying, and they're cracking.
That was the goal, was to make them harder to deter fares. But the fare gate, if you see here on the left, you can see that's the 2 pieces of 1/4-inch glass. They're kind of thin. MARTA says, you know, several of them have already shattered. This weekend was the first weekend of fares. The one on the right is what they're replacing them with. So it's a 1/2-inch piece of glass that's supposed to be more durable so that it won't shatter like you see there in that video. But again, we got reports of several shattered fare gates across the MARTA system. Just, you know, will they be durable enough for, 100,000 fans a day is what MARTA was predicting? I guess time will tell.
So this MARTA, the gate situation right now, there was a rollout of the new gates, numerous reports of the new gates cracking, and now there's going to be, they say, a rollout of new gates that are supposed to be an improvement on the previously new system that was just rolled out. Do I have that timeline right?
They're just replacing them as they go is what it sounds like. So the ones that crack, they're replacing them with that 1/2-inch piece of glass. Again, they haven't even installed most of these fare gates. They say, 19 of the 38 stations. That's 19 of the 38 stations that have at least one set of gates you can close. So I've been over to Lindbergh a lot because it's right around the corner from us. They have, probably 5 or 6 of the entrances have new gates now, but there's still that 1 or 2 that don't have new gates. So most of the gates system-wide have not been installed because we're talking about, 19 of the stations having at least one set of fare gates, not necessarily all the sets of fare gates. So we don't know if they're going to continue installing those 1/4-inch panels and just replacing them as they go, or if they're going to pause and say, okay, before we start rolling out some more, let's put those 1/2-inch glass panels on all of them.
It seems like if there's a theme that keeps popping up here, it is that some dates and some rollouts that were announced and expected, there seem to be some delays in a number of issues right now. And I mean, if you talk about the gates, there's kind of a redo that's being done. If you talk about the rollout of those new trains that was set to, as you put it, take place, it was going to start with a media event on Thursday, and then those trains were going to go into service. That was postponed. Zoom out for us, Grace. What's going on here right now?
Well, we don't know. MARTA is obviously, they say, in a transformational period. There's a lot of things going on. Of course, they had their next-gen bus redesign that launched in mid-April. That was to kind of redo all the bus routes. They put new card readers on the buses so that it goes with that Better Breeze card. They said it's just a difficult time because, you had the old fare gates. A lot of them were broken. A lot of them were unable to read fares. The fare evasion was super prevalent. They didn't have good data, so they couldn't get, the best funding opportunities out there because they didn't know how many people were riding MARTA. So they said, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's switch our system, but they can't have both operating at once. So they made the rollout. They've had a bunch of construction delays. It's just taking a bit more time than expected there. Same thing with the new trains. The testing is just taking a little bit more time than expected. The company took a little bit more time than expected. These trains were supposed to be in service 2025. It's now, mid-2026, and we're hoping they'll be in service before the World Cup, but we just don't know. The original goal was 5 to 7 of them before the World Cup. We don't know if that might be one, but MARTA says, they're doing everything they can. Safety is their top priority, and they're doing it all. But I spoke with Councilwoman Liliana Bakhtiari this morning, and she says she's not so sure if everything's going to be ready with the World Cup because it's just going to be so many people stressing the system all at once, and it hasn't really been tested.
I have many concerns. It does not feel like we're ready. It was disheartening to see that we are not doing the ride, that has been canceled. And my district is very frustrated. It raises the question of what is our transit vision? How are we prepared for the World Cup? What have we done, to your point, to welcome the world into our city, an incredible city that we are very proud of and love very much?
And, she says she believes in public transit. She believes in MARTA. She just wishes they were able to, set a deadline, meet these deadlines. Of course, the new fare gates just continue to roll out today. I saw a lot of people using them. They weren't really sure what to do because, again, they started charging on Saturday, which was a month later than expected. So when you have all these new people coming, some of the Breeze cards weren't working. Some people were, pulling out the gray cards, not realizing you needed an orange card. So it's just starting the process. But, of course, the World Cup is less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and transition is always hard, no matter what. In business, in public transit, in life, there's always hiccups that happen. That's natural. But with a deadline like the World Cup, it's not like the World Cup snuck up on anybody. We've known for years that it was coming, and we've known when it is coming. Grace, I know as well we should point out you have reached out to MARTA for comment on this a couple times, right?
Yes, I asked MARTA yesterday when they canceled the event. I said, what is the updated timeline for these trains? Will they be World Cup ready? Will it affect your plans for service during the World Cup? MARTA plans to run trains every 5 minutes during the World Cup on those match days, which if you ride MARTA, they usually are coming nowhere nearly that frequently, especially when you have delays and whatnot. And you're talking about match days on the weekend. Sometimes it's 20 minutes before your train comes. It's going to be every 5 minutes during the World Cup. So you're just going to have all these trains running a lot faster. So I said, not having these new trains that are more reliable, is that going to affect your service plan? And MARTA responded, they said they have a plan. If you want to go ahead and read it.
Yeah, I do. And I think it's important to read this because you asked a number of pretty specific questions following the news that rollout was delayed. In reply to that announcement, you asked, when is the new expected date of service? Or when is the new start of these trains coming online? Will any of the new trains be up and running before the World Cup begins? If so, how many? A number of detailed questions like that. And the response you got back from Stephanie Fisher, the Senior Director of Communications for MARTA. This is the full response. She said, quote, MARTA has a robust service plan in place that provides safe, clean, reliable transportation throughout the World Cup for visitors and residents alike. Testing of the new CQ 400 rail cars continues to progress, and we look forward to introducing the first of our new trains when they are ready for revenue service. Nowhere in there was it specified when they'd be ready, when they'd be rolled out. A lot of your questions were not answered there.
A lot of them weren't answered. And we've been, reaching out to other people too to see if we can get any kind of indication. Stadler, we reached out to them. That's the train manufacturer. They said, as far as they're concerned, the safety tests have been passed on their end. They look forward to seeing a new service date with MARTA, but they did not give us a date. We reached out to GDOT. That is the state agency that is responsible for giving the trains the final seal of approval that they can have customers be revenue service ready. GDOT says, they're still in the middle of testing and it would be premature to determine any date of service. So, the bottom line is no one has been able to give us a date so far. And the World Cup, it's, June 15th. It's right around the corner at this point.
A lot of questions here, Grace. We know you're going to continue to ask them, and we know a lot of people are going to continue to pay very close attention because folks want to be able to enjoy the World Cup, get where they got to go, have reliable, fun, safe service. Grace, we know you're going to stay on top of this. Thank you very much.